Jumbo out here by the body. This your boy, African King Darius. I know I haven't been posting on a daily basis, but I've been very busy trying to land this apartment complex. So, working. That's what your boy does. So today, the queen is out making that money. And the kiddos, one is here with me, the other one is at school. So, you guys have just my lovely self. So today, I wanted to touch on a topic I know I haven't talked about in a while. And I don't think I actually covered it at all. So, today I want to talk to you guys about hypocrisy. I want to entitle this one, You Hypocrite. You hypocrite. We all sometimes make that mistake of telling people to do things that we know we ourselves would not do. We have a tendency to not live by our own words. We have a tendency to think that the thing we're telling people to do is the way to go in life. But we don't realize that we're giving into our own hypocrisy. We're hypocrites. We don't live by our own words. And to tell you the truth, there's nothing worse in this world than a double-talking person who says one thing but then means another. There are people today who will raise their kids and tell them, hey, do as I say, not as I do. But that has not worked for years. Hypocrites make the same mistake all the time. They make themselves look like fools. Why try to, tell somebody to see things from your perspective, but you didn't get it right yourself? Shouldn't you do something about the simple fact that you yourself have not arrived to where you want that person to be? You guys know, I've said in many of my recordings that I am 100% a follower of all morally right faiths. And what I mean by that is ones that rather lift a person up instead of tear them down. There are some parts of the faith that I do not practice. I'm not going to get into that because that's not the topic today. The reason I don't like those practices and those parts of the faith is because they're hypocritical. Christians are the main type of hypocrites that exist. Oh, we got to do what the Bible tells us. We're Christians. Hallelujah, Jesus. But then be the same people judging somebody. Talking about somebody behind their back and gossiping. Putting a person down. Not caring about their feelings. Christians make this mistake. The Bible says in 1 John 4:20, if anyone says, I love God and hates his brother, he is a liar. For he who does not love his brother whom he has seen cannot love God whom he has not seen. And that's what I'm saying. Christians make this mistake all the time. The Bible literally tells you, you should love one another as you love thyself. But yet, Christians will make that mistake. Judge someone, hate on them, and do everything they can to try to make that person's life bad. Muslims are more disciplined. But then I'm a little bit bothered by the part of the Quran that says, thou shalt not kill. But then you're training them to be members of the Taliban. You're training them to be members of ISIS. You're telling them that they have the right to persecute other religions because they're not Muslim. The Quran literally calls Christians and Jews infidels. I've read the Quran. Jews are no better. Judaism, those who practice the Jewish faith will be the main ones to be racist towards a person. They think that because they went through the Holocaust that they're the only ones who have suffered by the hands of Adolf Hitler. Adolf Hitler hated anything that wasn't Aryan white. If you were black, he hated you. If you were Jewish, he hated you. French, Spanish, he hated you. If you were not Aryan white, and I said Aryan, if you were not Aryan white, he hated you. Even though, to tell the truth, Adolf himself was actually born a Jew. His family practiced Judaism. So does that not make him a hypocrite as well? That's what we're here to talk about today. What is hypocrisy? Let's find out. What is hypocrisy? Hypocrisy is the practice of claiming to have moral standards or beliefs to which one's own behavior does not conform. Pretense. His target was the hypocrisy of suburban life. Now, basically, hypocrisy is the practice of being a hypocrite. It's the practice of being a hypocrite. Of saying one thing but not living by your own words. People do this all the time and they make this mistake and they think that it's okay, that it should be water under the bridge. Live by the words that you preach. Live by the words that you preach. If you're going to tell somebody you want them to live a certain type of way, you live that same way. Lead by example. Live what you're trying to get them to understand should be the way they should be living. So often do we make that mistake and think that we're actually doing people a service by telling them what they should do, but then not living right ourselves. How many of you today have gone out, looked at a house, didn't decide to buy it, and you go and see a car? Now you know you don't need another car. You tell your kids you need to invest in your future. Buy you a house. You got a chance to get a brand new house, but you spend it on a third car, knowing you already got two. You bring that third car up there. Are you not a hypocrite? Did you not teach your kids that they shouldn't spend fruitlessly? Again, so hypocrisy is the practice of basically being a hypocrite. Hence his root word, hypocrite. It's hypocrisy. It's hypocrite with the letters missing. Let's be honest. What are the characteristics of a hypocrite? Well, this is how you can tell you have a hypocrite. Do they love to always point out your flaws? If that person always points out your flaws, 9 times out of 10, they're a hypocrite. Does that person insist on their own way? Does this person believe strongly in their own belief? If that's the case, you have a hypocrite. That person's a hypocrite. My way in understanding is that of light and not dark. I refuse to have this understanding that basically states, honestly, when I stop and think about everything I've gone through in life, I realize how hypocritical those around me truly were. They didn't have a basis of understanding as to what the real ideology of life actually meant. They chased after their own wants and desires, not their dreams. I didn't say dreams. I said wants and desires. They chased after their own wants and desires. And they were hell-bent on achieving what they wanted, even though they didn't really need it. That's a hypocrite. See, a hypocrite is going to do whatever they can to gain the advantage in their favor. They'll lie to you and everything. But understand, what they're going to tell you that you should do, they won't do themselves. The one thing you'll notice about a hypocrite is that they're compulsive liars. They're compulsive liars. They'll say it right to your face. And I mean, damn what they always say it. They say it right to your face. Hey, you know, you might want to start thinking more about putting your money up and putting it into a savings account. Then next thing you know, that exact same day, 2 hours later, you catching them with 9 bags full. 9 bags on both sides. They got 18 bags carrying to their house. I thought, what happened about saving? Hypocrites always double talk. They think that doing it their way makes sense, even though they wouldn't even do it their own way. Hypocrites make me sick, and they do, because I completely and utterly hate a person that will tell you to try one thing one way and then do another. Even if you wouldn't do it, why are you going to expect me? Hypocrites always make this mistake of always trying to solve somebody else's problems but can't even solve their own. You're a hypocrite for that. You see Sister Judy, and Sister Judy is having problems with making some money. You about as broke as 9 niggas. And you going to Sister Judy and tell her a quick way to make money, and all that other good stuff. But you ain't even taking care of yourself first. Soon as Sister Judy start making money, you know what you're going to do? You're going to start asking for her to give back. Now she's going to be having to give you money. Matthew 7:5 says, You hypocrite. First take the log out your own eye, then you will see clearly to take the speck out of your brother's eye. This is basic common sense. It's the blind leading the blind. It's the blind leading the blind. Your hand is in front of your face and you can't even see it. People, hypocrisy is horrible. We can't walk around here with this false sense of achievement, thinking we the showing off stuff, and then the whole entire time we know we're not. It's okay to have pride in yourself and to think you're beautiful and to think you're wonderfully made. Yes, it's wonderful. Amen. But I'm going to tell you straight up now. It's one to think that, and it's another to actually act like you are. My favorite one of Matthew is Matthew 1-5. He says, "Judge not that you be not judged. For with the judgment you pronounce, you will be judged. And with the measure you use, it will be measured to you. Why do you see the speck that is in your brother's eye, but do not notice the log that is in your own eye?" And this is what I mean, man. I mean, that's why I said Christians are the main hypocrites. They're the main hypocrites. Oh, well, that can't go up. Dang. All right, well, this is not going up on YouTube because I fought it. Then I'll say it now. When I was much younger, I used to really not practice Christianity. And I didn't practice Christianity because a lot of the people that were around me were hypocrites. They were hypocrites. They did not live by the word. They only lived by it on Sunday mornings. They would go to church and clap their hands, Jesus, 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 Jesus. And then next thing you know, I'll hear them calling everybody a bunch of motherfuckers Monday through Saturday. Calling everybody a bunch of motherfuckers Monday through Saturday. I never understood that. I never really understood that. And that's the thing that always made me so mad. And it still does to this day. Again, I hate hypocrites. I hate hypocrites because they're the main goddamn people. They'll be the first ones to try to point out someone's flaw. But the flaw in their understanding is that if you wouldn't do it, don't expect somebody else to. Fix yourself first. Why do so many people always expect other people to live good lives? And yet you're not even an example of what a good life is. How can you show them or show that person what a good life looks like if you're living a bad life? That whole, you see how bad my life is. I don't want you to have this. That doesn't work. That hasn't worked since the 80s. Matter of fact, no, it ain't worked since the 60s. It hasn't worked since the 60s. That mentality don't work no more. The only mentality that works It's what you're doing right now. When you get to heaven, God always asks you, what have you done for me lately? That's what he's going to ask you. What have you done for me lately? He's not going to ask you, well, what did you do last week? What did you do last month? He's going to ask you, what are you doing now to glorify my name? There are a lot of you right now probably saying, I'm living a good life that you know of. That you know of. Live by your own words. Stop telling people what to do in life and live your best life. If you're a person that chooses to sit on your ass and don't do nothing with your life, roll over in the ditch and die somewhere. That's what I tell you. Roll over in the ditch and die somewhere. Why? Because you're no good to nobody. You're no good to nobody. What purpose do you serve other than to tear someone down? Let me tell you something. Let me give you a story. Okay? And I want you guys to seriously pay attention to this. And I'm still going to post this up on YouTube. You know, I'm raw like that. Here's a story. When this actually really did happen, the part before the story, I was in middle school, and I remember in my spelling class, my teacher I had at the time, she wanted us to write short stories. And she wanted us to learn to proofread them. We wrote a short story and we passed it to our partner, and our partner would read our short stories and correct any grammar that was in it that had grammatical errors. Okay, I'm a nerd, so for me, grammar did not play a negative part in my story at all. I completely checked all the grammar myself before my classmate got to check it. Why? Because I didn't know how to write with incorrect grammar. I always proofread my work after I started writing. Anywho. So I was there in class and I wrote this story about a little train conductor named Sam. Here it goes. This is a story about Sam. Sam has been working on the railroad as a train conductor for 15 years. He knew who first laid the tracks. He knew who first designed the trains. He knew every layout and every lay point for the train stops from here to the outer city and beyond. One day, Sam saw a little boy. "Little boy, where are you going?" said Sam. The little boy said, "I'm trying to catch the train to my grandmother's house." Sam said, "A little boy like you should not be near the trains. Go home and find your parent and come back with them later." The little boy left. Later on that day, the little boy came back, and Sam saw him again. "Little boy, where are you going?" He said, "I'm trying to catch the train to my grandmother's house." So Sam said, "Did I not tell you before? Go and find your parents. Bring them back here, and then you can catch the train." The little boy left. And again, near nightfall, the little boy came back to the train station. Little boy, you're back? He said, yes, I'm trying to go to my grandmother's house. He said, little boy, I've told you once, I've told you twice, I've told you 3 times. You cannot catch the train without an adult. Now, the entire time while Sam was talking, Sam actually began to think. When he was a kid, he caught the train down to his grandmother's house, who lived 3 blocks down from where they were. He could not get his mom and dad because his mom and dad were sick, or his parents were out of town, but they always left money for him to catch the train. So Sam said, do you even have any money? The boy showed he had money, and he had enough to afford a ticket for all day. He said, do you even have any idea where she lives? And he gave Sam the exact address. Sam was beguiled. He thought about it and thought about it and thought about it. Who am I to turn this young man away from catching a train to go to his grandmother's house? And I myself have caught the same very trains here to get to my grandmother's house. Why, that will make me a hypocrite. So he let the boy onto the train and let him board. The boy bought an all-day pass, caught the train to his grandmother's house, got off at the right stop, and was gone. The next time the boy needed to get on to get home, he bought his grandmother. The grandmother was going with him to the parents' house to stay for a while. She had no car. The train was her only way to get back and forth. They get off at their stop and they leave and go home. This made Sam understand. You can't tell others what to do if you yourself would not even do it. The moral of that story was plain and simple. When I wrote this story, my teacher said, that's a very good example of exactly what she's been talking about. That day, she was talking about us about leading by example. Because we were the older kids, we had to show the younger classes that we had up there at the school how things are supposed to be done. But we can't do that if we won't even live by our own words. Don't give in to your own hypocrisy. Stop, think, look at the situation, and remember what you have done. There is nobody on this earth. You know, the Bible literally says it. I'm pretty sure most of you have heard the story of the woman that was being stoned, and how Jesus walked over there to the woman that was being stoned, and he stood in front of her. Each and every one of those people had a rock in their hand. And he said, simply, let he who is without sin cast the first stone. None of them were without sin. If each and every one of those people standing in front of that woman couldn't throw the daggone stone, what makes you think that the boo-boo that comes out of your butt is not any more stinkier than the boo-boo that comes out of somebody else's? If you are not without sin, then who are you to comment on somebody else's life? Who are you to try to tell somebody how to live theirs? Who are you to barge in on anyone's life, period? There's those of you today living in dilapidated conditions, not going nowhere with yourself, never achieved an educational background a day in your life except for high school. Not going nowhere. Just sitting there waiting to die. You hypocrite. Who are you to even check on anybody's life? Whatever life somebody near you, you might know, or whoever, whatever life they choose to live, you ought to just sit by and let them live that life. Why? Because you ain't doing nothing with yourself. If you ain't doing nothing with yourself, don't you dare check on their life. Because you a hypocrite. You a hypocrite. I say it again. You're a hypocrite. And this world is full of them. How can you try to tell someone what to do with their life and this person is working and has a job? How can you tell somebody what to do with their life and they have a house? How can you tell somebody to do with their life and they got a car? How can you tell somebody what to do with their life and they got more money than you? They have more money than you. You hypocrite. Live by your own words. It's not hard to do at all. Practice what you preach. If you're going to tell Sister Mary, well, Sister Mary, you might want to go on a juice cleanse. It'll help you lose the weight. I suggest when you come in front of Sister Mary, you already be 20 pounds lighter than you were when you first saw her. How can someone know that what you're saying actually works and is actually going to work if you yourself aren't even practicing it? That's like going to a bunch of blacks and telling them, hey, blacks, y'all need to stop eating fatty foods. And yet you a person that weighs 389 pounds. You can't tell black people they can't stop eating. They got to stop eating chicken. Oh, go ahead and say, well, you know, sometimes you can use what happened to you negatively as a way to motivate others to do the right thing. I'm going to tell you something now. That does not work. And I'm going to tell you why it doesn't. It doesn't work because the negative impact that might have happened to you might not be the negative impact that may happen to them. Everybody's body is different. For you, chowing down on steaks and eggs and stuff like that may make you fat. But then here's the person next to you, that might not happen. We feed my son on a daily basis. This boy eats as much food as I do. And yet, this boy has not gained hardly any weight. I am seeing this boy eating chicken nuggets and french fries and cake and candy and all kinds of food. And yet this boy is still thin. Why? Because he has a fast metabolism. His metabolism is faster than mine. His body burns the food quicker than mine does. Can I speed up my metabolism? Yes, I can. But will it be any fast as his? Probably not. His comes with youth. Something I no longer have. So who am I to tell my son, you can't be eating a whole plate full of food like that. Yet my plate is piled up like I went to Golden Corral in my home. I remember I went out to eat with my family, my wife and my kids, a couple days ago. Matter of fact, about a week ago, actually. And I remember it was this guy that was there, right? And the guy that was there was this big, large, white guy, pounding his plate up with food. We went again the day before yesterday, and I saw the same white guy there. I said, well, dang, does this dude live at Golden Corral? Uh-oh, give me a minute, people. Almost every time we went, he was there. And I had to ask myself, golly, I wanted to comment and say something bad, but then I said, well, you know what? I'm not exactly small myself. Instead, this guy was nice. I had me a little small plate. And he said, come on, buddy, you can put more than that on there. All I could do was laugh. Nice guy. Didn't judge me one bit. Do not fall for your own hypocrisy. Don't. Matthew 15:7-9 says, "You hypocrites, well did Isaiah prophesy for you when he said, this people honors me with their lips, but their heart is far from me. In vain do they worship me, teaching as doctrines the commandments of men." I want to read something really good. James 2:14-26 says, "What good is it, my brothers, if someone says he has faith but does not have works? Can that faith save him? If a brother or sister is poorly clothed and lacking in daily food, and one of you says to them, 'Go in peace and be warmed and filled,' without giving them the things needed for their body, what good is that?" So also faith by itself, if it does not have works, is dead. But someone will say, "You have faith and I have works. Show me your faith apart from your works, and I will show you my faith by my works." All of that is fine. But you hear what they're saying. Faith without works is dead. So anytime you say you're a Christian, but then you don't put it into work, and you're judging others, making fun of people, being miserly, understand God is going to give you exactly what you deserve. We all know that saying, what goes around comes around. We all know that. We know that saying. If you lived an unrighteous life and you sowed an unrighteous seed, understand, you're going to reap a bad harvest. I was always taught in church, when you put a seed in the ground, right, there's only one type of soil you can put the seed in. You can put it in good soil and it'll grow. But if you put the seed into rocky soil, or you put the seed into thorny soil, how will it grow? Let's examine. So if you put the seed into regular good soil, it sprouts into a wonderful apple tree. But if you put that seed into the ground of rocky soil, how will it grow? Well, it's only going to grow partially, and it's going to take a while for it to grow because the rocks are in the way, preventing it from growing. It's still going to grow, but the rocks are in the way, preventing it from growing. The soil itself is being starved. Now, with thorny soil, there's really no way for the tree to grow because the thorns itself are choking the tree and keeping the tree from sprouting into an apple tree. People, it's just common sense. I have a severe distaste for people who don't practice what they preach. Live a righteous life before you try to tell somebody what type of life they should live. Live your best life before you try to tell somebody else how they should live theirs. Get off your butt and live life. If you're a person who chooses to just sit there and wait for death to come your way, do yourself a favor. Don't talk to nobody. Don't talk to nobody. Don't talk to friends. Don't talk to family. Don't give nobody no advice. The Bible literally says, "Be thou of good counsel." Surround yourself with good counsel. It tells you about taking bad advice from those who should not be given that advice in the first place. That God punishes those who give bad advice. So how can you sit there and say, "Oh, I'm going to give my advice. I'm going to go ahead and I'm going to give out my advice. I'm going to go right ahead and tell them what they should do with their life. I'm going to go ahead and police their life. I'm going to do that. But here's the thing that I'm going to make a mistake at. I'm going to continue to do wrong with mine and do nothing with mine, but tell them that they should live a better life." Do you really mean to speak to them, or are your words actually meant for your own heart? Are you really saying what you're saying because you're aiming it at yourself? Hypocrite. That's what you are. A hypocrite. And hypocrites do not reap the kingdom of God. Hypocrites do not get blessed. Allah will not see you in favor. There's an old monk saying, be your heart flowing like wind and as fluent as water. Let your deeds be your idea of love. That means that your deeds should line up with what your heart is saying. That means if your heart is saying, I want to do better in life, then you should be out doing better in life. There's an old saying that Confucius used to say. Confucius says, life is like a tree. If you don't nurture it, it will not grow. If you don't nurture it, it will not grow. Let's not be hypocrites, people. We make that mistake of sitting on our behinds and letting life go by and telling others what they should be doing, policing other people's lives, wanting to control other people's decisions that they make. But yet we're sitting here and just waiting for death. Then wait for death. But do yourself a favor. Don't bother nobody else with your misgivings. Don't bother nobody else with your misdoings. Just wait for death to come to your doorstep. You don't want to go nowhere. You don't want to do nothing. You don't want to be better. Wait for death to come to your doorstep. Because you're not doing a service for anybody by choosing to try to dictate to others what they should be doing with their life, and you don't even want anything better for yourself. Your words fall on deaf ears. And if a person chooses to not follow you, guess what? You have not given them an example as to why you should or why they should. You're a hypocrite. And trust me, no one follows hypocrites. No one follows hypocrites. I can say there is one type of person in this world people hate, and they hate hypocrites. After all, our president of the United States of America is the biggest hypocrite that has ever existed. He is the epiphany of hypocrisy. Let's not be hypocrites, people. Let's start living by our words and showing people how life is supposed to go. Let's start leading by example. I don't care how old you are, what your circumstance is. There is nothing in life that can't get better. I've seen people with cancer survive. There's 2 people so far who've had HIV. We now have the 2nd case in America of somebody surviving with HIV. And that person was cured. I know y'all been listening to it in the news. I hope I'm not the only one. There was somebody else on this earth that was cured of HIV. One of the most deadliest sexually transmitted diseases that ever existed. And that person is alive. If a person with cancer can survive, if a person with HIV can survive, I don't care what your circumstance is. It gets better, and it can get better. You just got to get off of your butt and make it better. Stop believing in your own hypocrisy. And start living by your words and doing what you're supposed to do. Stop judging others and complain about what they're not doing. What are you doing? You know, the funny thing is, so many people will sit there and comment on what somebody else is doing. Oh, well, look at him over there. He doesn't even have a job and wants to be telling someone how to do their life. Guess what? If you're saying that and you're unemployed too, shut up. Because you ain't doing no better. Comment on that person while you got a job. Give them a reason to not be able to rebuttal back and say, well, you broke too. You don't want them to have to be able to say that back and be absolutely correct. You want them to be able to say, well, I can't think of nothing because you living the best life you living right now. I remember I got into a situation once, right? I had done some chores around my mom's house when I was young, when I was living there, so technically home. And I washed my uncle's car, my grandmother's car when she was alive, and my parents' 2 cars that they had. So I was out there like all day washing 4 cars, right? My brother had just woke up and I was already started washing the cars, right? He started helping me. So there was this local kid in the neighborhood, I'm going to remain nameless, who used to always talk smack about me. That day, I had $225 in my pocket. This Negro had no money to his name at all. They wanted to go to the store, and he said he's going to ask his mom for some money. After he made fun of me, I said, okay. So him and his homeboys left and went to the store. I caught the bus down to where I wanted to go, to the Walmart in Owings Mills, same place they were going. They got a ride down there. So me and my brother down there at Walmart, right? And over there in the electronics area, it was a game that all of us, me, the dude, and his friends really liked. He's asking his mom, could she get it? She said, boy, I ain't got no money right now. Getting you that daggone game. You need to keep your grades up. He sees me walking right over to the cage where the game was, and I tapped the associate. The associate went, took that game out, and I gave the associate some money for it, right at the register. Paid for that daggone game myself. My hard-earned money. I walk out with that game, looked at him right in his face. Oh, yo, what's up? And I laughed. Dang, if he didn't feel like the reddest tomato in the daggone garden. His friends sitting there looking at him. Yo, I thought you said Darius ain't had no money. I was gone. Now, I was told this by the exact same person later on in life. Because we talked about that situation when we caught up. And he told me, he said, man, you had me looking like the reddest damn tomato in the garden. That was his joke. That's the reason why I said it. He said, I didn't even know you had money yet. I sat there and I said all that stuff about you, when I really should have just shut up, because you probably could have bought 2 copies of it. And I could have. I had $225. The game at the time cost $60. That's only $120 I would have had to pay. I would still have some money left over to be able to do something with. I could have bought him a copy. But because he was talking smack, I didn't. I walked away, used my day pass, got back on the bus, got back home, and started playing my game. By the time this fruitcake got the daggone game, I already beat it and traded it in. He asked me, yeah, you started playing that game yet? While we was outside. And I said, yeah, I already traded mine in. I finished it. Stop falling for your own hypocrisy, people. Seriously. Let's be better than the hypocrites that exist in this world who try to dictate to others what they should do in life, and yet they're not living the best life that they have. Live your best life. Put your best foot forward. Again, if you just waiting for death, then wait for death. But don't bother nobody else and ask them to wait with you. Because there's no one else on this earth who wants to just sit and die. No one else on this earth. I'm sorry, but there's people mad enough to say, screw it, I'm not going to sit and wait for death. I'm going to just off myself. So stop. Stop being the biggest hypocrite in the garden. The biggest fool on this earth. Galatians 6:3. If anyone thinks he is something when he is nothing, he deceives himself. In the Quran, it teaches, if you believe yourself to be bigger than the prophets, you yourself are as small as an ant. If you believe yourself as big as the prophets, you yourself are as small as an ant. And final, I just want to say, don't fall for the okie doke. That's just bullcrap some people sell you. You have a choice of what type of life you want to live. You have free will in deciding where you want to go in life. If you allow other people to hold you back from the destiny that you should be achieving right now, then you're a fool. You're a fool. You're even bigger fool than them. You should be out there achieving greatness and doing things that the world has never seen before. Why? Because you're that great. Don't let other people sell you short because they want to believe in their own hypocrisy. Because they want to be the biggest hypocrites. Don't let other people tell you what you should do with your life and they're not living the best life that they have. Focus on your development. Once you've completely developed into being a greater version of yourself, guess what? There's nothing they can say. Because once you've achieved it all, there's nothing they can say. If you're a Christian, walk by faith, not by sight. If you're Hindu, let the light guide you. If you're Buddhist, let your steps be as light as a feather and heart as flowing as wind. If you're Egyptian, let the God of understanding guide you. I've taken a long, long look at myself in the mirror. And I've done everything I possibly can to continue to improve myself. Why? Because I don't want to fall prey to my own hypocrisy. I want to live my life better than my latest version. You should be updating yourself like software on a computer. And every update should be a big, booming update. I know I have some tech people listening. who has updated their computers, and the next update was always like, yeah, you waiting for that big, huge update. But then you get them small, minor, tiny little ones that's only fixing bugs in the system that you could do yourself, honestly. To each and every one of you, blessings and honor. Let's not be hypocrites. Let's show them how it's done, y'all.